Welcome to Keep What You Earn, your judgment and jargon-free zone for entrepreneurs of all levels. Get ready to learn how to scale your business, save money in taxes, and create a business that grows your wealth. If it feels like the financial side of business is like eating your vegetables, well then think of this podcast as the ranch dressing to make the process a little more enjoyable. My name is Shannon Weinstein. I'm a CPA and business owner on a mission to simplify money and empower others through knowledge. I hope this episode inspires you to take action, but remember that the information we share is for educational purposes only and is not individual tax advice. Now that we got that out of the way, let's start the show. A lot of S corporation owners are really surprised to find out they have to pay themselves a salary. And of course, the first question that follows that is, well, how much do I need to pay myself? And yesterday you heard me mention how the S Corp can be a great tax strategy for your business. But one of the most ambiguous areas of the S Corp compliance to actually unlock the strategy is the salary, because IRS and Congress don't give as much guidance on what a reasonable salary actually means. They kind of play this little game with you saying, you need to pay yourself a reasonable salary. And we go, well, how much is that? And they're like, you need to figure that out. Okay. What are the rules? There are none. Well, what if I want to pay myself 10 grand? That's not enough. Well, how do you know that's not enough? We don't have any. Yeah. Welcome to the conversation. Yeah. This is how everything goes. So it is arbitrary. It feels at times, but what you can do, what we've done as accountants and what I've done is developed a method on this is how I think a reasonable salary is computed. And this is the type of documentation that prove that your salary is reasonable. And this is what you can present to an IRS auditor if you ever need it. This is always an area of scrutiny. If you get audited and you have an S corporation, they will look at owner's compensation because they know that y'all are forgetting to pay yourself the salary, or they know that you're trying to maximize tax savings by paying yourself under a reasonable salary. And they're going to try to, claw that back. They're going to try to increase your salary or argue why it should be higher. And it's this tug of war game. The IRS wants to make your salary higher. You want to make your salary lower, because you want to pay less taxes. We'll leave every other factor like retirement savings and other things out of this. Let's say if your goal is primarily tax savings, then you're in this tug of war with the IRS. They want a higher salary, you want a lower salary. And the better your documentation, the higher your grip strength. Meaning, the more documentation you have proving that the salary you want is reasonable, then the more strength you have in that tug of war game to drag the IRS over to your side. Otherwise, you have no strength to anchor the rope. And the IRS just goes, we win, and you need to update your salary to this and pay us extra taxes. Now, that's definitely a possibility, but we want to equip you with everything you need to win that game. So let's talk about how we actually look at a reasonable salary. So what you need to do, again, is make a case for why you chose the salary that you did. And we do this for our clients. We do a reasonable compensation analysis. And we ask a series of questions about the business owner's background and how they work to determine a bit of an estimate on their salary. And here are 7 things that we consider. There's a list of 7. So we look at their location. Where do they live? What county? Could be a place with a high cost of living. Now, number 2, education and background. So what is your background? What are you trained in? Are you an expert in your craft? Do you have a doctorate degree, a master's degree, an associate's degree, a high school diploma? What do you have in your field or in general for education? And that also includes, by the way, years of experience. Are you highly regarded, top 10 in the country type of expert, or are you kind of a novice? That matters. That really matters for your salary. What do you do in the business versus on the business? This is a big one. So let me explain this one. Your salary is designed to circle around what you do in the business as the employee. So your salary is supposed to provide the function of, what would someone get paid if I had to clone and hire a new Shannon? What would she get paid for what she does in the business? And what we have to figure out is, how many hours are you working? And what does that pie chart look like of your time between in versus on the business? And hopefully you know what I mean by that. In the business is your tactical, technical, client service, delivering the thing that you do type of tasks? Are you the shipping clerk, the front office, the customer service rep, the sales manager, the brand manager, the operations manager, and all of these things, right? Like, are you running the show on a day-to-day basis? Are you actually in the business working? And are you one of the cogs in the machine? On the business, differently would be not just are you one of the cogs in the machine. On the business is, are you standing by the machine making sure it's working? Are you not in the machine? So on the business would be CEO role, would be oversight, strategy, board meetings, setting direction, setting values, really setting the tone. So it's kind of how much are you in that owner space versus operator space? And I think that definitely a lot of solo business owners are more in the operating space. But I think that what you have to do is examine the value of each of those roles and then divide up your time and how you're spending those roles. And you'll be able to figure out sort of where you land in your reasonable salary. This is what we look at. Another factor, number 4, how much you work, which is kind of embedded in that. So like, how many hours do you work? What you do in versus on the business. Number 5, what your employees are making. So what is your highest paid employee making? And are you doing more work than them? Because then theoretically, you should be making more money than them. So you have to look at if an impartial third party looked at how much you and your employees make, including your spouse or including whomever, you'd have to be able to justify based on work contributions, like that's fair. So just take a look at that too. You want to look at postings of similar jobs in the area. So let's say you are a personal trainer or like a fitness coach, then you want to be looking at personal trainer jobs in your local area and see what they make. And then based on that, you can kind of figure out based on how much time you spend in that role, like what your salary could be. But you also want to look at different roles, because you're not just 1 or 2 roles. You actually could be 3 or 4 different roles. So you want to consider all these different things and as plot points on this sort of map of what your salary should be. And lastly, and this is something that honestly, a lot of CPAs and accountants overestimate this one and how much it matters. I look at all the other 6 factors first. But lastly, I look at cash flow and profitability of the business. Here's an example. Let's say your reasonable salary was $65,000 for whatever it is that you do, right? We determine it's going to be $65,000, but your business made $50,000 in profit. Well, I don't know if I have to tell you this, but you can't afford to pay the salary. So, and that's just before salary, let's just say. So you can't afford to pay 65 grand. So what we would do is we would look at what can we afford to pay in salary that wouldn't harm the cash flow of the business or the profitability of the business to an extreme. So this is also why, by the way, you want to be running salary on an ongoing basis throughout the year and not waiting until the year end to run it, because you want to make sure you have enough cash to provide for this salary. So I recommend doing this analysis in the early stage of the year so that you can plan ahead and start allocating money towards that salary during the year if you have an S Corp. Oh, and by the way, this also applies to C corporations. You should be paying yourself a salary there as well. But this is really a focus on the S Corp for the sake of the context. You have to collectively evaluate all of these different factors, right? When we say the cash flow of the business and the profitability, there is no like percentage or general rule. Some of these CPAs come up with these rules and it's not like a one size fits all strategy. You could start there for sure. You could start looking at that as a comparable and as a plot point. But what I would not do is take any of these 7 different things in isolation to determine your reasonable salary. These are all, like I said, they're plot points where you get closer to a target by shooting these darts and seeing where they land. And if they become closer and closer, now you know the range that you're kind of shooting for. So that's how I want you to approach it. And there's no weight to one versus another. We collectively evaluate these and we issue a report to clients showing what we believe to be their reasonable salary with examples and with explanations. So whenever you make the S Corp tax election, your pro should be taking you through this analysis and you should be updating it at least annually. We recommend twice a year, one at the beginning and one towards like Q3, Q4 to make sure it's still reasonable. And we do this for all of our clients where we start an S Corp. And this is one of those things that I think differentiates us because most accountants don't do this. Most accountants tell you, hey, remember to go pay yourself a reasonable salary. Good luck. And after everything I've just laid out, you can probably tell this is not that easy. And luckily we have tools up our sleeve that can help with this, but you don't need to be going this alone. You really don't. And if you want to get this analysis done by us, we're including this in the S Corp Success Plan, which is now enrolling for February 2023. Not only will we help you set up your reasonable salary, but we're going to also help you run the actual payroll to learn how to pay yourself through our preferred provider, Gusto. If you're interested in making the election, or even if you already have an S corporation and you're thinking, well, I've never done a reasonable salary analysis and I really don't know what I'm doing when it comes to paying myself, then this is going to be super helpful for you too. So check out the links in the show notes to express your interest or enroll. We would love to have you on. And if you have any questions about it, feel free to shoot me a DM at Shannon K. Weinstein on Instagram, or you can shoot me a text message. My number is 860-609-6374. I would love to chat with you. One of the things that holds people back from starting their business and going all in on it to grow it is this hesitation around setting it up properly or cleaning things up to make sure everything is legally and compliantly sound. Between setting up the actual business legally and knowing how to manage the money, there's a lot that can intimidate somebody and scare them into not starting. And that's why I bundled up my 5 best resources all together for brand new business owners or for anyone who's looking to clean things up. This is my 5-day mindset refresh because you know it always starts with mindset, and my business financial quick starter, which is my starter course for anyone looking to start a business with all the key elements you need to do in order. My tax deduction guide with hundreds of deductions you can take for your business today. My Money Pro matchmaker on how to find the right professional for you, and my cash flow forecasting mini course. This is the ultimate Swiss Army knife. It includes tools and templates, everything you need to get started on your business successfully, or clean things up if you feel like you've fallen behind. Grab your copy right now. The Small Business Starter Kit is yours for free using the link in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating and review on your podcast platform. This small action goes a long way for podcasters to get our message heard by more business owners just like you. Be sure to check out the show notes for links to information about our guests and ways to get in touch with me. We'll see you on the next episode.